Good morning students. Welcome back. This video is for class 8 subject social science and today we are going to start history chapter 4 tribal Dikus and the vision of golden age. It is the first lecture of this chapter and in today's lecture the topics which are to be discussed. Okay, like this: first, meaning of tribal and Dikus, and second, how did tribal groups live. Okay, so in first topic, I'll tell you the meaning of tribal and Dikus. Yes friends, tribal people, actually the people those who live in forest are known as tribal people. And Dikus word, here Dikus word is used for outsider or foreigners. Okay, and in second topic we will study about the lifestyle of the tribal people. Ki how did the tribal group live before the arrival of the Britisher in India. So at that time, means before the arrival of the Britishers, some tribal people were Jhum cultivators, means they practiced shifting cultivation. Some were hunter and gatherers, means they hunt the animals and gathered the forest products. Some herded or reared cattle or animals and some practiced settled cultivation. Okay, so let's we start today's discussion. Yes friends, actually in today's lecture or in this chapter we will study about the different tribes, okay, those who are living in India and their struggle against the Dikus or outsider. Okay, so in which first we will read about a person that was Birsa Munda. Okay, in 1895 a man named Birsa who belonged to Munda tribes started gaining popularity. Yes friends, as we know that in India many tribal communities are living and in which like Munda, Santhals, Orans, Baigas, Banjaras, okay, many are there. So now we are studying about Birsa Munda who born means in Munda tribes in 1895 and he was very famous in Munda tribes and some other communities, tribal communities also like Santhal and Orans. Okay, so Birsa was born in Munda tribes and which is found in Chota Nagpur region of Jharkhand but was also famous among other tribes such as Santhals and Orans. Okay, as I told that Birsa born in Munda communities and the Munda communities or Munda tribes mainly found in Chota Nagpur plateau or region of Jharkhand. Okay, and he was very famous not only in Munda tribes but other also like Santhals and Orans. Why he was so famous? Actually, some tribal people believed that he had magical powers with which he could cure diseases and multiply grains. So means some people thought that he had magical power and he had the power to cure disease. He had the power to multiply grains. Okay, and he himself also declared that God had appointed him to help tribal people and safeguard their interest from Dikus. Okay, and listen friends, now some question arise in our mind why Birsa declared that he would help tribals and safeguard them from Dikus and who were these Dikus. Okay, so now here actually we will study about these two topics or questions who were the Dikus and why Birsa declared that he would help tribals and safeguard them from Dikus. Yes friends, so who were Dikus? As I told in the starting of the chapter, Dikus were the outsider or foreigners. Means especially Dikus word is used in this chapter for the Britishers. Means Britishers were the outsider and they came in India for the trading purpose. But when the Britishers came in India, they started to interfere in all you can say that life of the farmers, tribal people, okay, and in administration system also. Like in agricultural system, they made many new policies, new rules and regulation like zamindari system, mehalwari system, rayatwari system. They imposed many taxes also on the farmers. So in the same way that they made many new rules and regulations related to the forest land. Okay, according to some rules, then they declared forest as a state property. Okay, and according to this rule, the tribal people were not allowed to enter in the forest. They were not allowed to collect forest products. Okay, so before the arrival of the Britishers, the tribal people lived very happy and independent life. Okay, and means they lived in the forest, they collected the forest products. Okay, means and there were no foundation on the life of the tribal people. But after the arrival of the Britishers, so they made many new laws, and according to that now they were not allowed to such life, such independent life. Okay, that's why the tribal people saw the Britishers as their misery, cause of misery, and that's why they wanted to drive out them from their land. And who helped these tribal people to drive out the Britishers from their land? Birsa Munda. That's why all the tribal people that they gave a lot of respect, okay, to the Birsa Munda. Understood about it? So understood who were Dikus? Dikus were the outsiders, and especially Britishers and moneylenders of India. Now, our next question, why did they want to safeguard themselves from the Britishers? As I told you that the Britishers started to interfere in the independent life of tribal people, okay, and they thought or they felt that they were being enslaved by the Dikus or by the Britishers. That's why they wanted to safeguard, they wanted to protect themselves from the Britishers. Okay, means it is because the tribes had their own way of living. As I told you that before the arrival of the Britishers, tribal people lived happy and independent life. Okay, their society beliefs were different from those who lived in cities or villages. They felt that they were being enslaved by the Dikus. Okay, like means they have different custom, different rituals. Means the tribal society had different rituals which were not similar to that of the other communities. Understood? Yes. Tribal people lifestyle. Yes, friends, now we will study about the lifestyle of the tribal people. The three main features of the tribal people. First, most tribes had customs and rituals that were very different from those laid down by Brahmins. Yes, friends, as we know that Indian society had a rigged caste system. Means Indian society was divided or based on the caste system, and at that time there were mainly four castes: Brahmins, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas and Shudras. Okay, and many customs and rituals, sacrifices were practiced especially by the Brahmins. Okay, Brahmins categories, and this was the most respectful class in the society, and the other castes like Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, they were also forced to follow these customs and rituals. Okay, some people were considered high caste people, some people were considered low caste people. Okay, but these tribal people, okay, did not follow these same customs and rituals. They had different customs, different ritual, or different, you can say, lifestyles. Okay, means they had different rituals which were not similar to that of the Brahmins, especially caste system. They did not have any social division on the basis of caste. Okay, means the society also did not have the sharp social divisions that were characteristics of the caste societies. Means these tribal people did not believe in caste system. Okay, like in Indian society mainly four castes were there: some people like especially Brahman were considered high caste people, and that Shudras, they were considered lower caste people, and they were misbehaved and dominated by the high caste people. But this type of caste system means tribal people did not have any social division on the basis of caste. People belonging to same tribe often thought of that sharing same interest, same niche, same customs and same rituals. Means there were no differences. All communities, tribes were given equal rights, equal respect. So however, this tribe had some social and economic differences. Now we will study about the tribal groups lifestyles, means how the tribal group lived. So in which means before the arrival of the Britishers, that three, you can say, main activities which were practiced by the tribal group, in which first was Jhum cultivators, means some tribal people were Jhum cultivators, means they practiced shifting cultivation. And second activity is hunting and gathering, means some tribal people were hunters and gatherers. And third category, rearing cattle, means some tribal groups, those who involved in rearing cattle. Now we will study about all these three activities which were practiced by the tribal people in India before the arrival of Britishers. Yes, first one, some were Jhum cultivators. Yes, friends, Jhum cultivation. The other name of Jhum cultivation is shifting cultivation. And I think you have studied about this type of cultivation in your previous classes and in our previous lectures also. Okay, shifting cultivation. In this type of cultivation, a patch of forest land is cleared by cutting trees, okay, cutting or burning trees, and that part is used for cultivation, and the ash of this burnt tree is used as manure, okay. And in this system, the seeds are mainly scattered, okay. So now we will read about how these tribal people that practiced Jhum cultivation. Jhum cultivation, that is shifting cultivation, and was done on small patch of land and mostly in the forest. Yes, Bivar, that is also one term used for shifting cultivation in Madhya Pradesh. You can see the other name of the shifting cultivation in Madhya Pradesh, it was known as Bivar. And in this system, the cultivator cut the tree tops to allow sunlight to reach the ground, okay, and burnt the vegetation on the land to clear it for cultivation. Once the crop was ready and harvested, they moved to another field and left that field fallow for several years. Okay, means when that means after harvesting the crops, okay, and when you can see when the land that loses its fertility, then these tribal people shifted to the other places. Okay, means that they practiced this cultivation, Jhum cultivation on other part or patch of forest land, means they cleared other patch of the forest land for cultivation. And this type of cultivation is considered to be the primitive type of cultivation and took as a loss to the forest wealth. Actually, this type of cultivation is not, you can say, good. The main, you can say, disadvantage of the shifting cultivation is their deforestation. Okay, means cutting down trees in large amount. So understood about, means this was the first activities which were practiced by the tribal people. Now we will have a discussion on the second activities which was practiced by the tribal people, and in which hunting and gathering, means some were hunters and gatherers. Okay, friends. So in many regions, tribal groups lived by hunting animals and gathering forest produce. And in Khons were hunters and gatherers living in the forests of Odisha. Okay, means in many tribes, people survived by hunting and gathering forest produce. And especially the Khons communities, Okay, the Khons communities of Orissa, that they follow this practice. Okay, and they dependent on the forest produce such as fruits, roots, meat from hunting and oil from flowers such as mahua. Actually, mahua is a flower which is used to drag out oil. For medicines, they relied upon the forest shrubs and herbs and sold forest produce in the local markets. So the weaver and the leather workers, they used to buy plash and kusum flowers from corns to dye their clothes and leather. Means the people like weavers and leather worker, those who live in cities, so they came in the forest, okay, and came in the forest to buy plash and kusum flower, and these flowers were used to dye clothes and leather. Okay, and because sometimes they exchange their goods for the things that they were in need of, just like the barter system. Okay, and in some cases they had to do labor work also to earn their living. Understood? So means, as I told that means some were hunter and gatherers, means they hunt the animals and sold their products like their skins and means milk or many other things in the market. Okay, and in sometimes in some cases they had to do some labor work also in the cities. Okay, for the constructions of road or in that industries or factories, okay, to earn their living. Okay, but in these one communities was there, that was Bigas. Okay, lived in central India. They never worked for anyone. So Bigas of the tribal communities of central India, where the Bigas lived in central India, reluctant to do work for others. Okay, means they never worked for anyone. They lived independent life. It was below the dignity of Bigas to do labor work. So as they were the forest man and who had to depend had to depend only on forest produce for their survival. So understood about the Bigas community? Bigas community, a tribal community of India, central India, they reluctant to do work for other. Okay, means they wanted to live independent life. They completely dependent on the forest product for their survival. Understood? Tribal were mainly dependent on the barter system. Already I told you about the barter system, means in which things are exchanged. Okay, means the tribal communities, they exchange their goods for the things that they were in need of, just, and the system was known as barter system. Okay, like these hunter and gatherers, they took crops from the Jhum cultivators, and these Jhum cultivators they took this meat, or you can say milk, and the other that you can say products which they got from the animals. Okay, so they exchange the things among themselves. Next activity is that rearing cattle, means some tribal people were herders, or means they herded animals. So many tribal groups lived by herding and rearing animals and gathering forest produce. Some of the tribes used to herd animals and rear cattle. You can see they were that pastoralists. They were the pastoralists who moved with their cattle and sheep from one place to another after the grass of the particular land had exhausted. Okay, means they were especially nomadic people. They were especially nomadic people. Okay, that means they moved with their animals from one place to another, when in a particular place that due to the less of rainfall or due to the drought condition, okay, when there is a shortage of food, so they shift to the other places with their animals. Understood? And in which the one Gujars, you can say, one Gujar of Punjab and Labadis of Andhra Pradesh, okay, they were cattle herders, okay, and Gadis of Kullu were shepherds, and the Bakrawals of the Kashmir reared goats. Understood? So you must know about these main communities like one Gujar of Punjab, okay, and Labadis of Andhra Pradesh, they were cattle herder, and Gadis of Kulu, they were shepherd, means rear, sheep, and the Bakrawals, as the name suggests or mention that they reared goats. Later by British law, grazing on forest land was stopped and it became the reason discontent of the tribal. Yes, I told you that British made many new rules and regulations. Okay, so for that, according to some rules and regulations, now the tribal people were not allowed, okay, were not allowed to their cattle for grazing in this forest, and that was the main reason for the discontent, dissatisfactions, okay, or for the tribal people, okay, against Britishers. Understood it? Okay, so now all were living a nomadic, means we have studied that all these tribal people, they lived a nomadic life, okay, but after passing time, some of them, they started to live a settled life. Okay, now we will study about these people, tribal people, those who started to live settled life. Many tribal groups had begun to settle down instead of moving from place to place. So beta, we have studied that mainly the tribal people lived nomadic life, means they lived from one place to another, like shifting Jhum cultivators also, and those who were herder and hunters and gatherers also. So means, but after passing time, some tribal people started to live settled life. They began to use the plow and gradually got rights over the land they lived on. Few tribes such as Mundas considered the clan rights over land and assumed the land to be belong to the whole clan. Yes, in shifting cultivation, I told you that in this system, these tribal people that they didn't show the seeds, they just scattered. Okay, but now this time they started to, or you can say they started to use the plow for plowing the field for cultivations. Okay, and started to grow crops, and in which mainly that was Munda tribes. Okay, Munda tribes or Munda considered the clan rights over land and assumed the land to be belong to the whole clan. Means Munda's tribal communities started to live settled life. They started to settled cultivation. British officials saw settled tribal groups like the Gonds and Santhals as more civilized than hunter-gatherers or shifting cultivators. Okay, so beta, as I told that many of the tribal group begin settling down and starting cultivation with plow, means they did not indulge in shifting cultivation. Finally, they got the right over the land and they were cultivating. And in the case of Munda tribe, the land was owned by the whole clan, and there were only some instances where someone acquired more power than others. So he was referred to as the chief, who Birsa Munda, who had special right and he could even rent out his land instead of cultivating himself. And now, according to the British officials saw settled tribal groups like the Gonds and Santhal as more civilized than hunter-gatherers or shifting cultivation. So, means according to Britishers, Santhal tribal communities and Gonds tribal communities, these were more, you can say, civilized than the hunter and shifting cultivator. Those living in the forest were considered wild and uncivilized, cruel. Okay, so extraction of huge revenue was also done from the tribal, and in case of non-payment of revenue, their lands were taken away and it became the reason of discord. Yes, as I told, the British made many new policies, new rules, regulations. Now they imposed taxes also on the forest land. Okay, means the tribal people, okay, those who collected the forest products from these forests, for that they had to pay some taxes to the British government. Okay, and when they failed to pay this revenue, that their lands were taken away, means they were not allowed to practice cultivation, they were not allowed to enter in the forest or to collect forest products. So that was the main reason of discord or dissatisfactions of the tribal people, okay, against Britishers. Okay, yes friends, so we have studied that The tribal had different ways of living, but what made them against the Dikus or Britishers? About this we will study in our next lecture. Now note down your homework, in which first question, who was Birsa? I told you during the explanation ki who was Birsa. Mention different types of activities where tribal people were involved. Understood? Third one, what is the other name of Jhum cultivation? Next, who were the outsider being referred to as Dikus? And when did Birsa die and how? So understood about it? Yes. So this is all your homework, and you have to do your homework in your fair notebook, and after completion of your homework you have to send this homework to me on my email ID, that is more Neetu 8080@yahoo.com. Understood, friends? Okay, so in this way our today's lecture is completed. Tomorrow we will meet again with our next lecture. Thank you.